There's a child in every snack that you love, your babies. Hi. Is anyone there? Are you guys able to hear me, Kyle Cease? I sang an opening song for you to make sure you knew it was me. Is anyone there? Oh, yep. There's Lisa Huber says hi. And then Robin above says hello from South Carolina, but that could have been to you guys. Lisa said it to me. So, Robin, I don't know if you feel that way. Well, good to talk to you guys. Wouldn't that be weird if I left? That'd be so weird. Hi, yes, indeed, from Jonathan Stewart. Hi, Marge, Melissa, Joanne. This is the whole show. I just say your names. I don't ever go into content. Wouldn't that be weird if that was true? But both things would be weird. This is my opening. This is my Saturday morning opening. I'm a little worried that behind me, the olive branches look like my hair. Like I'm worried that my hair's already ridiculous, but if the olive branch is right here, you might think that that entire portrait behind me is my hair. But hi, Gwen, but luckily you don't. But not, if I just say the insecurity that I have, then we get through it. And that's a pretty weird one, that you would think that my hair is a framed picture from IKEA. I mean Pottery Barn. I would never go to IKEA. It's from IKEA. So I'm starting this off literally just coming out of bed and going downstairs. I said hi to my team has been here all morning setting up in my living room, and they're all very light. They came in late last night. They're very light people. I know because no, I didn't hear anything when they came in, and then they came downstairs and they set stuff up. And then my whole place is a giant studio, and I had no idea they were setting up, and they came downstairs, and it was like Christmas for actors. Like there was just stocking stuffers full of lighting and gaffers. Extra virgin olive hair. Thank you, George. So absolutely. So I want to talk to you about what we're doing. I want to welcome you. We've done this before, and it was a huge hit, not only for the people that were on, but for me. It's so fun to put myself in a position where I have to create. Because we've made this agreement, you guys are going to be here with me the entire time. So I'm putting myself in a position where I'm forced to create in a good way for a couple hours. And I say it that way because a lot of times when we're about to create something, we don't leverage ourselves to stay in the room. So you might start to write out something for a potential book or a song or whatever, and you might try it for a few minutes and you might just go, yeah, it's not working. And then you leave. You're just like looking for any way out. And the reason is because what you can become in your creativity is so insane that it would actually require the death of your limitation. And most of us think who we are is our limitation. Most of us think who we are is the small story. So if you're about to do something creative and profound, that's bigger than the story of what you thought you were. You might have a story of, well, I can't do that. Or you might have a story of, for me, it's not that easy. Or I don't know how, or I don't know what I'm doing. And then if you start to create something amazing, that story would have to die. That story isn't there anymore. So if you think who you are as the limitation, and the limitation goes away, then you go away too. So a huge mistake we make is we think that who we are is our small story. So actually creating something and doing something really exciting is death to the false identity of who you think you are. So sometimes creating and meditating and doing something is really scary because you think you're about to die. Are you guys with me so far on that? This is so fun to actually be with you guys and talking to you here and doing this. So I'm in a position where because we're here, you guys are leveraging me to stay in the room. So this is also an exciting thing of creativity for me. And every second is exponentially better than before. Every time you stay in the room, a big trick that you create for yourself is you think the first few minutes, if it doesn't work out, is the same as what it's going to be like in the second hour or the third hour. And you can't understand the exponential results that'll happen when you stay in the room. So this is really cool because I think that in doing this, it's time really well spent, first of all. We're spending time together in our creativity. Everything I'm saying is showing up from off the cuff. It's showing up from my heart. It's showing up from a real place, and it's my highest truth. And a couple of things that I've said at events before that I want to tell you guys is I really believe there's two us's. There's the you that doesn't know what to do, like doesn't know which restaurant to go to or is trying to fix a situation. And then there's another you that if someone you love is at a party crying, you can sit there and give them advice. And that advice was so profound that you could have written a book with that. And so I really am fascinated by the two us's, the you that doesn't know what to do, and then the you that totally has all these answers for other people. And if you've ever given anyone advice and you learn from the advice, that means there's two of you. Sometimes you'll give someone really profound advice and you'll really be passionate about it, and you'll start to realize the reason you're giving that advice is because the advice that you wanted to hear. It was the advice you needed to hear yourself say so that you had permission to let go of that thing or move into the other thing. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm tapping into this place, and all the stuff that I'm saying is going to pretty much be off the cuff. There's a couple things that I say to repeat just to kind of get us all on board. You'll kind of hear a few repeating things if you know my stuff in the next probably few minutes, but then eventually we go into a deeper place of unknown, and there's a lot of new content that starts to show up as you keep going deeper. So we're spending a couple hours really well lived. And I believe it's measured that it's well lived when you go deeper and deeper into your body. Because the deeper you go into your body, the less limitation you have. So for instance, think of a limitation that you have right now. Think of a story you have. Well, it's not easy for me, or I have anxiety, or I have this addiction. And right when you think that, in fact, everyone do that real quick. You might be starting this with me, and you might think of a story or a limitation that you're used to, or something that you're scared coming up is going to happen, or something about you that, you know, for me, I'm always nervous, or I'm scared of what people think about me. Or if anyone wants to really quick, just to get that going, I'd love to read a couple of examples. If anyone wants to write a limitation that they have. Is that working, Dan? Because there's nothing coming in, or they're just not writing. Maybe they're just not writing anything. Oh, I don't sound smart enough. I suck at selling. Well, good. I think I know what you're saying. You changed it to ceiling. I want to write a book, but I don't know how. Maybe I can't. This is fantastic. Okay, cool. I have social anxiety. I don't feel good enough. Looking okay on camera to make videos. Oh, I want to look okay on camera to make videos. Great. And you know what's really surreal is everything you're writing is the same thing. Everything you're writing, I'm lazy. I'll break down how everything you're writing is the same thing. It just looks like a different external example, but believe it or not, they're all the same thing. In fact, why don't we just do it on a level of just feeling where those things feel in your body. So everyone take yours. If you wrote one or you didn't, I want you to notice when you think about that sentence. I suck at selling. I constantly feel anxiety and uncertainty. I have social anxiety. I don't feel good enough. I want you to think of whatever yours is. And I want you to notice where you feel that in your body. When you notice that, where do you feel that thing? Just feel for a second. I just think, do I feel it in my, so someone said throat. Awesome. Does anyone feel it in their head? Chest, heart. Okay, so when you say chest, heart, Jonathan, do you feel like it's opening up, or do you feel like it's contracting? Do you feel like it's closing off, or do you feel like it's like opening? Because there's a huge difference too, what that sensation feels like. So you feel it in your throat, you feel it in your head. Where else do you guys feel it? In my face, solar plexus, in my heart, stomach, throat, stomach, contracting. Awesome, thanks, Jonathan. So tight, chest, contracting, mind back. And when you say stomach, want to vomit, okay, cool. Now I want to show you something really interesting, by the way. And by the way, it's funny because I'm like, awesome, you're gonna vomit. Like, but I want to show you something really interesting about that. the thing that you're feeling, even though it sucks and you feel contracting and you feel in your head, do you notice that it also feels familiar? It also feels familiar. I mean, there's almost like a home feeling to that negative feeling. It's that same thing that when you go to a restaurant with your friend and you just complain, right? And you go, God, I had the worst day ever. It's like your mind is trying to find, how do I get back into this place? How do I get this thing? Because I've spent my entire life feeling here. So even though it doesn't feel good, it feels familiar. So what would happen if you could feel good, but it's not familiar? So it would be the difference between being a caterpillar your entire life. Yeah, it feels safe. It feels safe to have that limitation. It feels safe to say, I don't know how to write a book. Doesn't that feel safe? Now you don't have to write it. If you say, I don't know how, I don't know what's going to happen, I have anxiety, that's also a great sentence. That's an excuse to not step into your greatness. Now, I'm not saying those things aren't legitimate, but do you notice the familiarity of that? Do you notice the stay small way out of stepping into something big? If I say, write a book right now, you might go, find a reason to not instantly in your mind, because you're about to access something really huge that's bigger than you're used to. That doesn't mean it's not natural for you to tap into, but it's not normal or common for you. So in other words, it's available, but it's scary. So imagine, would you rather be a very advanced caterpillar? Would you rather be a caterpillar that has nailed it for 30 years, a caterpillar that totally is the best at the caterpillars, or would you rather be day one of a butterfly? Day one of a butterfly is not familiar. Day one of a butterfly is got wings and crap. Day one of a butterfly doesn't know how to use them. It doesn't know what it's doing. Now, day one of a butterfly has no familiar. Day one of a butterfly doesn't have the familiar feeling. Day one of a butterfly can't go to your friends and complain at a restaurant about how bad your day is. Day one of a butterfly doesn't know how to use limitations as a way out of things. Now, here's what's really cool about the people that are on this with me right now. I really believe that the people that are following what we're doing, if you are excited about what I do, I believe there's 4 different stages you could be in. One is you're like a baby chick in a shell, okay? And a baby chick in a shell, if you think who you are is the shell, then I come and crack into it and say that you're infinite. I show up and say you can do all this stuff. That's a threat to who you think you are. So people that are really owned by who they believe they are is their outside story, their past story, anything like that. If you believe that, then I'm saying that you're infinite. That's a threat to your old story. And a lot of times those are the people that are not our audience. They're people that are still developing what they are. That's a whole different thing. So some people are, there's no crack in their shell. Then there's people that have had a crack in their shell where a little piece of light shows up in your body and you realize that maybe the way the world says it isn't true. At least that level. Is there anyone that resonates with that? There's something that in you, you can feel that there's a calling, there's a feeling, there's something that seems like BS about what the news says and what the way life is. Okay, so if that's showing up, that means you're already at least in the second stage. This is huge. And Lori, I have the answer for that. A caterpillar mind thinks, how do I get there? But if you have yes, let's just follow the yes without knowing how to get there. So if you have that crack in your shell, if you understand what I'm talking about, you're at least at a place where you have a crack in the shell, which is really exciting. The third place is when you're like realizing that your heart knows more than your head and you're going to crawl out of the shell. And the fourth place is where you realize you've created the shell in your mind the entire time, but you can't get to the fourth place until you actually crawl out of it. So it's kind of advanced. It's kind of weird to say, but what we want to talk about is if you're in a place where there's a crack in your shell, where you realize that there's something calling you that's more excited, a huge mistake that we make is we know that the people that are in that first stage that are living in the shell, they don't know about the crack. So they appear to know more about what's going on than you do. So there's a lot of times people that have no crack in their shell, they don't say they're lost. They don't get confused. They really seem like they have their stuff together. And a lot of times when we have a crack in the shell, we ask the people with no crack what we should do, but they can't feel the crack in the shell that you feel. So when you ask advice, when you ask advice to people that seem like they have all their stuff together, but they still have that no crack in their shell, remember the feeling you're feeling, that excited calling, they can't feel it. So they're not going to answer from the feeling that you're feeling. They're answering from what's practical, what's safe, what's going to keep you in the shell, because they don't understand that there's more than outside of the shell. So this is huge, 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 huge that you understand that feeling is legitimate. And we live in a world that rewards caterpillars, but people that are butterflies can't help what they're feeling, and we need to be supported too. So if you feel an excitement calling you, if you feel in your heart some new potential, if you feel this thing that's questioning it, what I want to do is focus more on the feeling. Now, one of the things someone wrote is, I'm stuck on how to get there. The belief that you have is that it's your job to get there, your job to know how to get there. But what if we do things in a way that we've never done it before, which is just focus more on the crack? We just focus more on the feeling, and we trust that the feeling is going to show us how to get there, or is there. What if the feeling just is the there that we're trying to get to? And our job is to just actually do things not from our mind anymore, but from our feeling, from our excitement, from our next step. That's our job now. And a lot of times when we go, is this a good idea? We ask people that have never left their shell and don't know anything about what we're feeling. And that's like, if you've ever been in a car with someone who won't admit that they're lost, they totally look like they know what they're doing, but they're driving loops around the city. You're with them and they don't know where the hell they are, but they're like, I got it, I know what I'm doing. If you've ever been with someone who totally looks like they know what they're doing, but is lost, they might appear more advanced than finally the person who goes, okay, screw it, we're lost. The second you finally say you're lost, you type it into the GPS system. And lost is actually more advanced than looking like you have all the answers. Because when you finally say you're lost, you know where you are. You're lost. And that's a great starting point. So if you're feeling lost, get excited, because that's actually more advanced than totally knowing what to do. Are you guys with me on that? Is that making sense so far? Awesome. That felt good too for me. So that was kind of a discovery for me, even the way that I said it just now. So I want to go through a couple of the limitations and notice that what you've said, a lot of them actually have a similar feeling. You feel it. Most of the things you feel was here. And you'll notice that the contracting in your stomach was actually the response to what you felt here. You felt, I don't know what to do. I have social anxiety. I have all these things. So you're immediately looking at your body and it's saying, really, it's here. And when you feel it in your stomach, it's a contracting thing. So now, this is awesome. I'm just reading your comments, and it's just so fun to be interactive with you guys. And it's so touching to do this, because it's so big what we're doing. To me, tapping into this is the only way we're going to change the world. So many people are trying to change the world from a way that their mind understands. Like they're trying to change the world from, how do we stop this person, or how do we do this? And in fighting the thing that's going on in the world, we're saying I'm in resistance to the thing, meaning I'm in denial about what's happening. And when we finally, first of all, go, yes, I have this thing, I have this fear, I have this issue, I have this social anxiety, I have all this stuff, and I love that, it can start to go away. This is really trippy, but one of the biggest reasons that we have the fear that we have is we believe that we're not supposed to have it. And every single limitation that you have, you'll notice that under it is a belief that you think is supposed to be a certain way. So for instance, one of the things someone said was something like, I'm unsure of what to do next, or I feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Uncertain. Someone said that. The belief under that is that you're supposed to be certain of what you're supposed to do before you leap. And that's not true for me. For me, if I know what I'm supposed to do before I leap, it's way too small. If I can see the next step and the next step and the next step, and I can see the entire picture, I'm not using my heart or my body. I'm using my mind, and I'm in strategy. And if I can see the entire picture of what I want and then I create it, I don't change. My mind just creates the thing that it wanted. So the bank account might change, the relationship might change, the health might change, but I don't change. The circumstance outside me changes. So a huge illusion we're under is who we are this person that's spinning plates. And we think that we're supposed to spin all these plates. So we think the key to life is to get the right relationship and to get political situation the way we've decided we want it, and to get our body this way, and to get our health this way, and to get whatever, our money. When finally we have security, when we have, you know what, 100 grand in the bank. Finally we have security when we have the right relationship or when we get married. But those things can fall apart. The money can fall apart. You can totally go into debt. You could even have it all disappear. You could have the relationship fall apart. And a huge illusion we're under is that our security happens when our circumstances are a certain way. So we live our life spinning plates as much as we can because we think we'll finally be secure when we spin plates. But remember, you're not the plates. You're the plate spinner. And if you actually feel this thing, some plates might fall. And that's totally cool. And they might not. But when they finally fall, you're free because you're not this plate. You're not this thing that you're keeping going. You're finally free because your whole life has been thinking, if this plate falls, I'm going to die. That's the belief. If I lose this thing, if I lose this person, if I lose this job, if I lose this thing. But it also could be freedom. And the only reason your plates are spinning is because they don't fulfill you that way. In other words, when you finally know what you want to do, it's an exciting thing. It's not something you got to keep floating. It's something that calls to you. It's something that you love. And weirdly, when you actually follow the feeling and do what you want to do and be what you want to be, weirdly, plates just start randomly spinning around you that you don't even have to keep spinning. When you start to align with your body, when you start to align with your heart, when you start to be okay with all of yourself, when you start to be okay with your anxiety and you go, yeah, I have anxiety and I love that. I'm scared what people think about me and I love that. I'm scared that I'm going to screw this up and I love that. Remember, my book coming out is called I Hope I Screw This Up. And it is so freeing to say, I hope I screw this up versus I hope I don't screw this up. Because if I say, I hope I don't screw this up, I'm saying I'm enslaved to if it goes wrong. I'm saying I'm not enough if it doesn't work. I'm saying if this thing screws up, I'm nothing. So if I say, I hope I screw this up, all of a sudden I'm not entangled inside that my life is this. Even if I'm doing this video with you guys right now, what if I'm like, I hope I screw this up? I totally hope I'm totally, what if I totally screw? I get freer and freer. This becomes a playground because I'm not thinking I got to do it a certain way. And the second I think I don't have to do it a certain way, new creativity shows up under that. But if I think I got to do it a certain way, I've got a plate going here. And if I have a plate going here, I'm enslaved to that plate spinning. But if I do what I want to do and say what I want to say, eventually you'll realize that I've spoken for 25 minutes because there's infinite content trying to come through when I'm not scared that I could blow it. When I'm not scared that I'm small. When I'm not scared that I'm full of, anxiety or whatever. So the world has trained us that our limitation is who we are. And there's a major reason for that. There's a ton of reasons for that. But it would be hard to sell you something that would make you be something if you already know that you're complete. If you understand who you are, that you're already enough, then like Louis Vuitton bags can't say you'll finally be something when you have this, or when you open up a Budweiser, bikini women will surround you because you're not enough. Who you are is not popular enough. You need to have this drink. So a great way to sell you on stuff is to constantly make you think that you're not enough, that you are the limitation. But the truth is you're infinite. You're just addicted to the limitation because you've spent your entire life getting love for connecting with people who also think who they are is the limitation and having that limitation. So it's familiar to be in your head. In fact, if you just sit, you'll notice that there's nothing wrong and your ego can't handle it. You could just sit on the couch and do nothing for 5 minutes and your ego will be like, we got to have a problem to fix. There's got to be something wrong. So a question that just came up is, how do I detox from that addiction? How do I detox from that addiction? That implies that there's a job to do. That implies that there's something for you to overcome. And what I want to do is instead take the person that's asking how, and that how question is implying there's a right or wrong way to do something. And you're scared that if you don't do it the right way, this is what how actually is. When you go, how do I do that? How do I get there? People go, how do I get in the moment? You are the moment. By asking how, you actually put it in the future. People go, how do I love myself more? You are love. You're infinite love. By saying, how do I love? You're trying to get somewhere else and make it a job that's not now. And we're obsessed with constantly being in the future. So Jonathan just said, how do you know when you're in the moment? You always are in the moment. You always are. Now, sometimes you might feel like you're in the future, but what that is your mind has created a vision in the moment and you're watching it like a movie, but you think you're in the movie. So how many times have you stopped yourself? Have you been sitting on the bed, totally safe, and thinking of something the next morning and just thinking, oh God, that's going to happen, or that person won't like me, or I'm going to get fired. But you're safe, but you're thinking of something on your bed as if it's happening. So by thinking of that, you're constantly in a position of watching a movie. It's like you're watching a horror movie in here, but you think you are the horror movie. So when you think you're actually in it. So one way to actually do that, to answer your how question, is love the part of you that's asking how. So right now, I want you to think of every limitation you've had. And then even if you have to, it sounds corny and our world just totally is scared to death of people learning what they are. So that we aren't rewarded in doing something that's empowering a lot of times. So it can be really embarrassing to actually do this out loud. But I dare you to say the limitation that you think you have and then follow it with, and I love that. So everyone do it. So whatever, I'm scared that people won't like me. I'm not enough. And I love that. I love that I'm not enough. I'm totally screwed up. I have social anxiety and I love that. I have, whatever, I'm broke and I love that. So go ahead and say that and actually write a couple in here because I'd love to do that. What stops you from going into full meditation monk lifestyle and still in business and making money? I'll answer that in a second. Yeah. By the way, I don't make enough money and I love that. I'm scared to make the wrong decision. I'm not reaching my potential and I love that. I'm worried about sounding stupid and I love that. I'm not enough and I love that. Now, some people might go, but I don't love that. That's your choice to stay in the small story. So if you go, it's not working, follow it with, and I love that. Because your problem isn't that it's not working. Your problem is you believe that it shouldn't be. I feel like everything is going to change and I love that. Hell yeah. The belief is that things shouldn't change, right? The fear-based belief under that is that things shouldn't change. I'm scared of not doing enough, and I love that. How crazy is that, right? I'm scared I'm not doing enough, and I love that. That one's profound. So I'm scared that my tour will not go well, and I love that. Yeah. And the belief is that it's supposed to go well. The control freak belief is that it's supposed to go well, and by well, we mean the way we expect it to go. Well isn't necessarily the way you expect it. So the other belief is that it only goes well if it goes the way that I expect it to go. Now, remember, I say this on stage too, but in a relationship, when you go through a breakup, a lot of times people say, that person broke my heart. Remember, nobody broke your heart. They broke your expectations. You had an expectation that you're supposed to be with the person forever, or that they weren't supposed to cheat on you, or they weren't supposed to leave you, or they weren't supposed to lie to you, or whatever. And when they did it, they broke not your heart, but they broke your expectations. And by breaking your expectations, they got you closer to your heart. So what really is under these things is a belief, I'm afraid to be famous and lose my privacy. And I love that. That's an interesting one. And by the way, a lot of times the belief that you're going to have, you think that when you get here, it's going to be the same as what you're believing now. So to give you an example, we were doing an event where we were filling 200-seat theaters and we were busting our butts to fill 200 seats. And then at one point we said, let's do 2,000 seats. And my team and I were thinking about it. We were like, it'd be so much more work. And we realized, no, it'd actually be way easier because we'd be so much more excited about it. And we didn't realize that our excitement would actually make it easier to fill 2,000 seats than it is to fill 200, because we'd be going everywhere and we'd be so excited about it and we'd be so pumped that it would be easier to fill. And it was, we filled it way faster. It turned out in that example, it was way easier to be amazing than small. So maybe also, yes, you might be famous and lose your privacy. Yes. But also maybe in your fame, you'll get more privacy than you've ever had. Maybe you can actually get a locked away place. Maybe you actually can afford in your fame to do things your own way. Maybe you will be able to, afford security, whatever. So think, in other words, in your situation, you're not seeing the third dimension that'll happen when you finally live in your heart. So I'm going to read a couple of these, and I will go to the questions on the bottom too. But I'm afraid to believe that I do matter and have something of value to give. And I love that. Yeah. Donna, the reason you're afraid of that is because that would be death to your old story. That would be death to a story that says I'm limited. That's death to a caterpillar. That's death that you might matter and have something of value to give. That's death to the story that used that as an excuse. Are there quick ways to make money that feel awesome? I have great stuff on that too, because I really believe that when you finally live in your heart, you give on a level that is so much bigger than anyone that's trying to get anything. And weirdly, the money takes care of itself much more because you're giving so much more of a profound level. When you go to a place of giving, one, you have infinite content for the rest of your life. For anyone that's a musician, I'm seeing tour and famous and stuff. If you're a musician, it is so much more easy to create a song if it's because you want to give it to the world or be like an apple tree and express it, than if you're just going, I got to write the right song that's a hit. If you're thinking how, you're thinking, how do I get from this? How do I write a hit? How do I have a #1 song? How do I get a Grammy? Whatever your thing is. But if you're going, I'm going to create on a place of giving because I have a thing to express, it's much, much, much easier. When you start to create there, you go to that Stevie Wonder, Brian Wilson type place. And you start to realize that you have an infinite amount of creativity and you're much more excited about your connection to you than the getting. When you connect to you and you go to that deeper place, what happens is you lose addiction. So immediately you start to save money. Because when you're finally creating from your heart, you now created a space that doing this is more fulfilling than getting drunk or doing drugs or getting, doing whatever. You're actually obsessed with your creating that's trying to come through. So immediately you save money on addictions. And then also your health goes up because you're doing what you love and you're in a passion. Isn't it weird how many comics, like the legendary Bob Hope, Milton Berle, George Burns, they were all living till about 100 years old. And all of them were still on stage right before they died. Like George Burns was performing at 100. So weirdly, because he was doing that, they were able to live longer and their health was higher. They were all smoking cigars and drinking every night too, and they still lived to 100 because they were obsessed with their passion. They were obsessed with what they were doing. They were obsessed with the creating. So your health goes up. So then you start to save money on blood pressure medication, therapy, and all these other things because you're in your passion. And when you're in your passion, it pulls you. I'm able to say all this because I'm pulled. I'm excited about what's coming through. I'm enthusiastic about this, right? So immediately you start to save massive money. Now, if you're creating like that, you don't think that it's going to sell on a much higher level. Steve Martin said, instead of trying to get the right agent and trying to make money and trying to just become so good that they can't take their eyes off you. How about if you just figure out how to be good at what you do by falling in love with your fear, by tapping into your creativity, right? So what I'm doing today is forcing myself to stay in the room and discovering the creativity that shows up just because I'm showing up. So, but I have to show up. And if I was thinking to myself, how do I do this right so I can get something from you guys, then all of a sudden I'd be in a limitation and I'd be in lack because I'm implying to myself that I'm not enough if I don't get your guys' love. And then I'd be creating from fear and I wouldn't be able to create on this level. But obviously from this place, things like the money take care of themselves because you're doing what you love. And when you give a gift on this level, people are going to want to have what you have and want to learn how to access it because the #1 thing that we all have is our connection to ourselves. That's a higher currency than money. In fact, it makes more money. Money doesn't get you more connected to yourself, but you connecting to yourself can make you more money. And then when you get it, invest in your creativity, give it away, prove to yourself that you're the apple tree, not the apple. Invest in yourself, do stuff with it. A big thing that I don't believe in is just hoarding as much money as you can and putting it in the bank until finally you're 98 years old and you can give it to your grandkids. Like, your job isn't to just hold on to stuff. It's to circulate it. It's to do this with it. So I love investing in my creativity. I love taking our videos and making videos out of this and what we do here and under our events. And then we have my team, we edit videos and then we put it out there and it goes viral. But then we like to take our money and put it into areas that might not have seen the videos. And weirdly, it still pays for itself because those people come to events and buy books and all those things too. But that's a win-win-win. So here's a very specific answer for how do I make money. I'm really having fun with you guys today. I feel good. I hope you guys are enjoying this. There's a win-win-win situation that's available. Most of us are in a win, lose, lose in money and in everything in our life. And here's what I mean by that. The first thing is, do you benefit? Okay. Are you giving your gift? Are you making money? That's the first win. The second one is, did they benefit? Or is it something that might be feeding their addiction or contracting them? So for instance, I feel if you're selling Pepsi for a living, you might have a win-lose because you're selling something, you're making money, but they're rotting their teeth out and it's in plastic, right? And so that's toxic and stuff. So the third one is, does it help the world? Is what your gift you're giving helping the world or harming the world? And there's a lot of people that are doing things for money that are harming the world, that are actually hurting the good of the world. Like for instance, if you're selling Pepsi and it's in plastic and it's going in the ocean, it's not helping the consciousness of the world for you to do all these contracting things just so you can make a buck. So that is a win, lose, lose. To me, giving the gift I'm giving helps people to access and realize they have the exact same gift in their own unique way. That I'm not looking for followers, I'm looking for co-leaders, right? So that's the second one. And the third one is, if everyone steps into their gift off of because I helped them see that they have it, then all of a sudden the world is advancing and we're going to a higher level of consciousness and it makes the world better. That's a win-win-win. So check with your situation and be honest with yourself. Is what I'm doing a win-lose-lose? Because if it's a win-lose-lose, the lose-lose is actually hurting you inside. Your whole being is, with what you do for a career and a living, is, are you getting a win-win-win? And if you have the three things, remember, my friend Glenn Morshower says, if you pee in one part of the pool, you pee in all the pool. So if 2/3 of your pool are being peed in, you're not able to feel fulfilled on the first third. So the exponential things that happen when you actually are accessing your gift, giving your gift on this level to people and helping people get that they also have the gift, and that's helping the world, is a win-win-win. So I have no problem saying, grab my book, because I know that my book is coming out. Please pre-order it because it's amazing and it's funny and it's awesome and it's a win-win-win. Because I know that when people read it, in fact, there's a reviewer saying she's now on a mission to make sure everyone reads it. It's a win-win-win. So it helps the world, it helps me, and with that creativity that I get, I put it back into my creativity and hopefully help raise the consciousness of the planet. And the second win is the person that reads it is going to shift and get out of their addictions and their old things. So it pays for itself over and over and over and over again. So if you're doing something that's a win-lose-lose, you're going to be in lack. So one way to get there, in the same scenario, if I had to sell 2,000 tickets, it wouldn't excite me. It would make me crawl into a corner and hide. So then it's not exciting enough. So you got to do something that's more exciting. So we did a recent event and Moon Unit Zappa was in the audience. She's Frank Zappa's daughter, if you don't know that, and a famous rock star, if you don't know that. And a rock star is a musician, if you don't know that. And a musician is a person that plays instruments and it creates a vibration in your eardrum, if you don't know that. And your eardrum is the thing in your ear that vibrates when it hears different frequencies. If you don't know that, vibrating is when you go so fast that you can't see it, but it creates inside of you a feeling that's really good. And if you don't know what good is, it's the opposite of bad. Bad is the thing that you felt when you were in your head. So anyway, so Moon Zappa was in the audience and she said, what if you've had all of the exciting stuff? What if you've had all of this abundance? What if you've had all this stuff and you don't feel fulfilled? And I realized for her, her entire life has been, rock star life. Actually sitting and doing nothing on the couch is her highest excitement. So everyone's excitement is different, but what is the thing that excites you? What is the thing that you can feel in your body? What is the thing that makes you constantly call to yourself, but you're scared to do it, but you can feel this thing that goes, what if I did that? And you know it's the thing when it's the one step, not the entire thing. So in other words, if you can see the entire picture, it's too small. But if it's one next step, like I'm going to go away and write the book. And by the way, your reason that you think you can't is your reason you have to. For instance, I want to go away and write a book, but I don't know how. You don't know how because you haven't written it. You'll learn how when you write it. So you might have, I'd love to go give my gift, but I have a kid. I can't just go give my gift because I have a kid. Your kid is the reason to give the gift. Your kid needs permission to give their gift by seeing that you're giving yours. So a lot of times our reason why we think we can't is actually our reason that we have to. I'd love to just give my gift, but I don't have enough money, because you don't give your gift, right? I'd love to give my gift, but I'm totally uncertain. Yeah, you got to do this so you can fall in love with uncertainty. So, or another one is, I'd love to do this, but I'm worried my friends will judge me. Yeah, give your gifts so that you can prove to them that they were wrong in their judgment and help them stop judging people. So that also is leverage for why you should do it. Let me see if I can answer a couple things. Didier asks, are you saying that instead of asking how to get things done, we should ask, how do I feel right now? Yeah, because if you actually ask, how do I feel right now, and then become okay with how you feel, then all of a sudden you'll be driven. Once you get okay with that and that fear goes away, you'll be driven on a new level. Something new will show up in you. So to give you an example, if you've ever tried to write something, like I want to write a blog, you might go, I want to write a blog right now. And you be like, okay, what do I write about? You can't write it. There's also times where the blog writes you, where it just shows up and it pulls you off the couch. You want to live in that second place. And you get to that second place by being okay with every part of yourself. Being okay with the diagnosis you got, being okay with it, you don't know how, being okay with how you feel, being okay with your fear, being okay with your sadness. And all of a sudden what happens is you'll realize you're bigger than that sadness. You're bigger than that fear. That fear was something you created to stay in that story. So let me see if I can answer a couple others, and then I'll go to these ones under here. I feel guilty for wanting to live my dream, and I love that. Beautiful. Isn't that funny? Why would we feel guilty? Why would we feel guilty for living our dream? Like if you even just put it on paper, that's just so funny. Of course, live your dream. And why aren't we feeling guilty for not living our dream? Like, not that that's better, but it is. Like, why aren't we feeling guilty? Why aren't we going, wow, especially now that I know this. Now, it's not good to just feel guilty, but isn't it funny that we don't feel equally guilty for not living our dream? So now don't use that though as an excuse to not do it. Just forgive yourself for all of it and start. Do the next step. It's hard to have energy to be the best creative I could be when I have to support my passion with money, and I love that. Beautiful. Learning to recognize how the ego creates my fears. Learning to recognize how the ego creates, okay, cool, yeah. And don't even do it from an analytical place. Also just accept that your ego creates your fears. Your ego also totally serves a purpose. When you want to create something, it's your ego that does the action. But most of us don't actually have a why going on. So you're like a ship that's not steering itself. It's just all over the place. If you put a boat in the ocean, the waves are going to throw it around. But if you have someone steering it, then there's a purpose to that steering wheel. So you do want to have a how after you access your why. Your why is because I have to. Your why is because I have to help people realize what they can be. Your why is because I want to know what I can be, even better. I want to know what I am. I want to know what I have in me. I got to know what I can become. Once you have that, then you access the how. This video workshop is a how. How do I get my voice out? Okay, but the goal was to get my voice out, right? If you don't have the why, a why is a perfect bed for a million hows. But if you don't have the why, then your hows are actually you sabotaging something and then overcoming it. How do I overcome what people think about me? Well, why don't we look at the fact that you have a belief that what people think about you is a thing? So yeah, I'm all over. I'm just talking so much today. I'm sure if I watch a video of me later, I'll be like, oh, God, shut up. I imagine that would also take away our desire to compare ourselves to others. Correct. We stop looking for a right way to do things and go with what feels best in our hearts. Jennifer, that's Jennifer Brett's comment. Absolutely. Yes. When you start to connect with yourself more, that part of you that compares yourself to other people and who you were before you started doing this starts to die, because you're connected here and not here. This thing habitually is looking at what everyone else is doing. And it also tricks itself into believing that whatever anyone else is doing is the right way, you know, and it's not, it's their way. And they might even inside be like, I don't like how I'm doing it. So it's what you feel here is the only right way. Yeah, but understanding this in my mind is easy. How do I know that in my heart? Fear just shows up. That's Stephanie's question. Great question. By doing the thing. Because once you do the thing, your nervous system rewires itself to match what you know in your mind. So you're scared to step into something that your mind understands, but you're scared to step into it because you haven't done it. And your nervous system is only scared to do things it's never done before. That's it. That's the only thing your nervous system is scared of. So it could be totally safe, but you're just totally believing it's not safe. Going to meet a person on a date, your body thinks that's life or death. And sometimes they're like, what if they don't like me and wants to run away? Not me, other people. The people that are meeting me. They're really nervous to meet me. For me, it's very easy for me. Well, so for you, you have to step into the thing. So can I give you guys an exercise really quick? I want to give you guys an exercise. You have a lot of comments here that don't shut up, keep going. Thank you, Jonathan. So I skipped a bunch of stuff here and I will come back to as much as I can, but I want to show you guys an exercise here. This is an exercise, I hope you don't mind. We do this sometime at our Evolving Out Louds, but it's a great way to answer your questions. So, and if this is something you have heard before, still do it because you're now at a different place and it's totally going to be a different thing. So I'd love to show you guys this. So everyone grab a pen and paper really quick. So take a second and grab a pen and paper, or also you can pull your phone out and have a right page or a left page or something like that. But awesome. So this is what you want to do. I'm letting you guys get paper. I'm just guessing how long it's taking. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. And by the way, right before I did, I was like, oh, I don't even want to do this. And I was like, that's why I have to. Like, I felt like I didn't want to do it. I was like, oh, I don't even want to go online. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. That's why I have to, because it'll wake me up, because I'll realize things about me, because I'll discover a new passion, right? Lisa said, is that out of fear? No, it was just like habit. It was like habit going. I had a couple days off and I want another day off. And I was like, but that's why I have to do it. I was like, I have to do this. And now I'm like in love with this group. You know, I'm just seeing it's cool to see your comments and your support for me and yourself and your faces. And it really is cool. So sometimes a habit shows up and goes, I don't want to do this. It's looking for a way out. Always your ego creates a whole new identification again and goes, okay, I'm this level now. So don't go create again because I'm this level now. It always is going on. And the more you do this, the more you catch it, and you catch it faster and faster, but it's still going to show up on new levels. So here's what you do. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to do this, and I'm going to shut up while you do it. But I want you to, on the left side of your page, and if you find yourself run out of space, go to the next page. I want you to imagine if you had a magic wand and could do, be, feel, give any experience you can. If you could do anything, and no, it didn't matter what people thought about you, you didn't have all the yeah buts that usually show up. If it's like, I want to go to Italy, I want to write a book, I want to do a seminar, I want to teach, I want to give something, I want to write a song, I want to, whatever it is, or even what you want to feel. I want to feel more free. I want to feel calm inside. I want to feel more love. I want to feel connected, whatever. If you had a magic wand, or another way I do it is if you realized you were dreaming right now and you could do anything, you realize you created all of this, what would you do? I want you to take, I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes probably to go down the left side of your page and write down as many things you could. If you didn't have any, yeah, but I can't because. If money wasn't an issue, if your limitation wasn't an issue, what would you write? So take a few minutes to just write down on the left side of your page all of the things that you would do, be, experience, feel if you could. And if you run out of space, go to the next page, but don't go to the right side because we're going to do other stuff there too. So take a few minutes, and I'll just be right back. I'm going to grab something real quick. So I'm going to go while you do it in a minute. I'm going to go grab a third drink. Go ahead and write those things down. That's not wine. Neither is that. Ugh. Dan, do you have a straw? Thanks, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. All right. So did you write down the left things? These are all things that you want to do, and please feel free to add to this list later. Really do this because it's kind of crazy. So the things that you've written down, there's obviously a reason you haven't done it. And everything that you've written down that you haven't done, you can find a specific reason why you can't. Like you're, yeah, but like, I'd like to go away. Yeah, but I can't afford it. I'd like to, you know, I want to go give my gift, but I don't know how. Whatever it is. So for every sentence that you've written that you'd like to do or have or be or experience or feel, I want you now to write the yeah, but that you wrote down on the right side. What's the yeah, but, or I'm sorry, write down the yeah. I'm still excited about my drink joke. I want you to write down the yeah, but for each thing. So in other words, what you've used as a yeah, but reason to not give your gift. So I'd love to do it. Yeah, but I have kids. I'd love to do it. Yeah, but my friends will judge me. So for everything you wrote down, I want you to take a few minutes now and write down all of the reasons why you would say, yeah, but. So for each thing, yeah, but this thing, I want to do this. Yeah, but I can't because this. So this will be the last time we're going to even give that focus, but let's put it on paper so we can see it. So go ahead and write that down, and I'm going to go grab a drink. Okay. Thank you so much. Could you grab me the oranges, Kara? So, all right. So now, did you guys, I'll give you a couple more minutes. I see it, like a minute maybe. Perfect. Thank you. And the oranges too would be great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So, what's the glass one? Oh, there it is. Great. Okay, so some of you, yeah, it's about time. So here's the thing. So some of you have written down what you want, and I want you to ask yourself where you can feel it. Go down the left side of your page and just look at only the things that you wrote that you want. And I want you to ask yourself, where do you feel it? Just only the left side, not the yeah, but side. And go ahead and type on here where you feel it. And on my gut now, is it excited, heart, excited or contracted? Solar plexus and heart. Expansive is a big word. Right. So that feeling you're getting is a preview. It's saying when you do this thing, you'll always feel this way. You'll start to feel so good, right? So right there, it's not familiar, but it feels really good, right? So awesome. Now, this is unfamiliar. This is butterfly stuff, right? This is butterfly. So you're feeling excited. You're feeling really good. This is butterfly stuff. So now I want you to go through the right side of the page. Go through all the yeah buts. Awesome. Awesome, Crystal. So go through the right side of the page, and I want you to write down how you feel when you look at just that list, the yeah but side. Okay. Stifled, shut down, throat contracting. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, so now I want you to notice on the right page, you have all these horrible things. My body shrinks to itself, small, tight, contracting, left stomach, anxiety, blank in my head, but familiar, right? Those are sentences that we grab onto every day. I can't because I don't know how. I don't have enough. I don't, right? This is familiar. It's familiar. So it feels like home. You're tricking yourself into thinking that that's home, right? So it's familiar. So actually, when you felt in your body, when you went to the left side, did you notice that you felt really good, but it's not familiar? So it's actually scary and good just because it's new territory. It actually felt really good, but you almost felt not good that you felt good, right? It's scary that you feel so open and you feel so alive and you feel so free. So that's the funny thing. So to answer the question, how do I get into that body state, or what do I do? Do the stuff on the left page, on the left side, because check this out. On the left side, if you do the stuff on the left side, you have an opportunity, or you have the right side. You can feel this in your head. You feel the fear. You feel the possibility, the excitement, or the fear, or the contraction, okay? If you do this, this goes away. If you step into your gift, if you start writing the book even though you don't know how, if you start to go to that city or that state, or you let go of that heavy relationship or that job that doesn't excite you, the fear goes away because you're not scared to do this thing. You're scared to decide to do this thing. If you do this thing, if you honor the yeah, but, the opportunity goes away. And you get better and better at finding the reasons why you can't than the opportunity. If you do the left page, you start to become a master at finding the opportunity. If you do the right page, you become a master at finding the lack. Now you have to ask yourself, up until today, have you been better at finding the opportunity or the lack? Now, some of you have been pretty good because you got here, you're here, but most of the world we live in is obsessed with finding the lack. Yeah, but it's not that easy for me. Like someone goes, you should write a book. Yeah, but I don't know how. You should do this thing. Yeah, but I can't afford it. Boom, your mind goes, find the problem. There's got to be a problem here. You should do this. Yeah, but I can't because of my old story. Or yeah, I can't because of my limitation. I can't because of my social anxiety, right? So are you a master at finding the problem in the opportunity, or the opportunity in the problem? Every time you have what you think is a problem, an opportunity is trying to come through. So this is huge. I've been finding it the positive and trying to change my story. Awesome. Instead of trying to change your story, Bink, accept the story. Accept the story, because by trying to change it, you're saying it's not okay. But the story that's coming up is the childhood you that just needs to be seen. And the second it can be seen, it'll leave. Yeah, hell yeah. So how do you keep up doing the left page? I've stopped myself so many times before. So the first thing, Carrie Elizabeth Dahl, is you're supposed to forgive yourself for that. Okay, because your evidence of why it's a problem is still in your past. I've stopped myself so many times before. The only way you have proof of that is to go into your head and be in your past. Okay, so how do I stop doing that? First of all, by accepting that a thought is coming up and going to your body. because you didn't know everything you're about to know right now. I think I feel guilty for being too lucky. That's an interesting thing. There's a speaker I love named Bashar who says, you're worthy because you exist. You're all worthy. We're all completely worthy because we exist. You don't need to find reasons to be worthy. You're worthy because you exist. If you weren't worthy, you wouldn't exist. Your existence is your worthiness. Your existence is your permission slip. It's your freedom. It's everything. I feel guilty for being successful. People have to work 9 to 5 for years. And here I'm sitting in my room doing nothing, just having fun, and I have the same amount. Sometimes I feel not worthy and think, why did they choose me? So Cesario, or Cesario, there's a section here that I can't, it's like a Cesario section. Yeah. So here's my answer to that, Cesario. You are supposed to give your gift to encourage the people that work their 9 to 5, that they also have that gift too. Instead of feeling guilty and staying and thinking you should be small, thinking you should be in your limitation, you've been given this gift to help empower other people to get that they give it too. I work very odd hours and don't have a 9 to 5 job in the same way. And my passion is to get other people to get that they have it too. We love to use external circumstance as an excuse to not give our gift. For instance, yeah, it might be, people say to me sometimes, yeah, Kyle, it might be easy for you to say, but you know, in other countries, people are suffering. And I go, I know, that's why we have to give our gift to help those people. We have to empower the world to access all of their Mother Teresas and Martin Luther Kings inside of all of them and help the people that totally can't even get water. Like, the last thing those people want is us to stay small. We're the butterflies of the world, and we have to give the people that are controlling other people permission to free themselves and stop oppressing people, because they believe that the highest form of happiness there is to control other people or get as much money in the bank as possible. That's a reason we have to give the gift that we have. You know, think of a politician that you really actually love, if that exists. If you can find a politician you love, a lot of times people go, that politician goes, this is too corrupt, I should leave. And you're going, no, you got to stay in there. We need you in there. You're the one that's not corrupt. You're the one that the people that are the ones that are going, it's screwed up around me, so I should leave. It's like, no, if you have this calling in you, you have to give it, because the world needs to see that it's available, and you need to be the beacon of what is possible for those people. So, so I don't know if that helps, Cesario. People depend on me, so leaping is terrifying. Yeah, how many people will thank you after you leap? We're so used to saying that we shouldn't leap because it would hurt people that are holding on to you. But how many people in the future? So that happened with me. Gwen O'Leary, that happened with me. I was scared, well, what about my comedy fans? What about, and I didn't know in that leap that I would meet all of you guys. Remember, when you're scared because when you're about to leap, your mind can measure what you will lose. It cannot measure what you will gain. You cannot see what you will gain when you leap. So you're considering what you're losing, but you're not considering what you'll gain once you let go of it. So I feel like I learned at some point that that the exciting feeling will never last. So I don't want to get used to being in that feeling. And the only evidence you have for that, Natasha, is your past. The exciting feeling didn't last because you didn't have the awareness that you have right now. So it's not true. If you need evidence that it lasts, I promise it lasts. If you access here, it lasts, because nothing outside of you will sustain itself as exciting, but everything inside is permanently what you are and will last forever. You only are tricking yourself when you think your happiness comes from outside, and that will never last. That will never last. Does that make sense? So you're never going to actually have lasting happiness from something outside of you, but you always will inside, and you can bring that and overflow that into the situation. So if you think a relationship defines you and your relationship with that person better last, you're totally enslaved to it. You're thinking it better not leave. What if that person leaves me? So you grab it too tight and it doesn't last. But even if it does last, you've had moments where you realize, oh, maybe it's not only just every second with this person. Sometimes I get in a fight with this person, sometimes whatever. Your happiness in you is the only thing that actually is permanent. Ego spends its entire identification trying to sustain itself. That's what ego's for. It's trying to sustain itself all the time. So it has to create a problem so it can overcome it. But what the essence of what you are under it is infinite and permanent. That's what you actually are. And everything that ego comes up with is a temporary thing. So if it's not lasting, it's not you, right? It's you believe that it's from an outside thing. So the feeling you're feeling is not you, it's a feeling right now. And you're trying to make the feeling last. And the belief under that is that it's not okay to feel sad or scared or anger, right? That those things aren't okay. So every feeling that you're feeling is contained within you. So get excited about you. And I don't even mean your body, because that won't last, but I believe under it you will. I believe that more and more and more, just because as I connect to myself, my body changes. And as my body changes, I'm still here. So when I have a different size body, when I have a little kid's body, whatever, when I was like 5 or 20, my body changed, but I existed through all of it. So I can't be my body because it changes, right? So I can't be my beliefs because that changes. So actually crying right now. Awesome, Sarah. Nice to meet you. Natasha says, yes, infinite amount of permanent joy. I love that. That's what you are. And if you're not feeling that, that means that, first of all, that's okay. You're going through the letting go of the old story of you that got love for being small. Remember, our parents, some of our parents grew up during the Great Depression, or their parents grew up during the Great Depression. The farther you go back, there's a limitation. And those parents were thinking from, you got to make money, or you got to become a doctor, and you have to do this stuff because life isn't that easy. If they grew up during the Great Depression, the best that they knew to teach you is how to achieve something, or how to do something to get love, to get safe, to get security. So if you started bringing your creativity sometimes, you might have trained yourself that my dad gets mad at me when I start to daydream or create or free myself. So you actually wired yourself that the little kid in you can't let go or express itself because you think you'll lose love that you got from your parents when you were a little kid. So Jonathan Stewart said, thanks, George. Yeah, ego. Wayne Dyer said that once, edging God out. Edging out what you are, edging out the love of what you are, just not trusting and not feeling or not being okay with. That's all ego is. All ego is resistance. Ego is an argument with what is. Ego isn't the achieving, ego isn't the fixing. It's when you trick yourself into thinking that you're separated. And when you get really deep and you get really crazy, and this is kind of nuts to say on hour 2 of something I'm doing online with you guys, but you start to realize that there is no separation, and you guys are hearing yourself talk right now. You're not hearing a separate person talk. The only way you have separation is from your mind. The separation that you're feeling is in your head. Your mind says who I am are these man-made labels, that I'm white and that person's black, or I'm Asian, or this ethnicity, or this gender. Those things are labels that are created by society. Like John Lennon says, if we didn't have borders and we didn't have all that stuff, and I don't mean like politically, I just mean like if we didn't have that's this country and this thing, we would all just see ourselves as heart and lungs, and we'd realize that we're just this moment. But when you use your mind, it separates everything and says, I'm this and you're this. That's the comparer. So go here. So Jonathan says, that's incredibly reassuring with regards to not feeling tied to a relationship. I don't need to feel, I don't feel I need to be with my current partner. I love her to pieces, but I don't feel I have to grab hold of her to keep her. That'll make it so much more sustainable, by the way. But I always thought that was wrong to feel, and that's so incredibly reassuring. Hell yeah. So check this out. David Deida is an amazing speaker on relationships. And David Deida says, the first level is I need a person to be happy. The second level is when you go, I don't need anyone to be happy. So you spend like 5 years not dating anyone, and you find your own boundaries and you go, I have boundaries. I'm whole on myself. The third level is when you finally go, I don't need anybody, but I'll only accept someone who will move me beyond me. Someone who can see me beyond myself. And if there's times where if you're in level 1, you think you need someone to be happy. That's an addiction. Level 2 is where you start to learn there's a new you and you start to create boundaries. But you start to realize in level 3 that even though you thought you were whole by yourself, you still had boundaries that you couldn't see. And when you have someone else who did the inner work too, and they see you, they move you beyond you. And you start to realize you had boundaries that you didn't even know about. So I'm engaged. to an amazing woman. And to give you an example, when I started dating her, I didn't realize that I had boundaries because I had past relationships. I found myself feeling in trouble if I was on the road. Like, I'd just do a gig and I dated someone in my 20s, and I would immediately feel like, oh, I better explain myself because like she heard a waitress talk behind me. So I'd find myself like in trouble, and I'd come home and the woman would be mad at me. Did you do something I didn't, you know? And then I found myself when I started dating Christy still being like that. Like, I'm sorry this happened, da, 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 da. Like last week, my phone broke at night, and I started thinking she's going to think that I'm bullshitting when I said my phone broke, but that's my stuff when I was in my 20s. And I called her the next day and told her, and she was like, oh, I don't care at all. I'm so totally faithful and totally connected to her. But I had a limited story that believed that I better prove myself. I better fix something that wasn't broken. And by being with her, she helped me clear that out and helped me clear out some old baggage that I had from trauma that I had in past relationships. So I was scared that, and I have that even with my mom, where I find myself proving stuff to my mom that I don't need to prove. But I've always had that. So in dating this woman, I find myself loved beyond the level that I could see that I was loving myself. I thought I was loving myself all the way, but I'm finding pockets that I didn't know about that were loving me and able to see me even better than I can see myself. So that's the third level relationship. If it's something that can see you beyond yourself, if it's totally authentic, if you can be yourself fully, and this person will encourage you to be even more yourself. And that's what you want, not only in a relationship that's a love relationship, but a business relationship and a friendship. Our team is so encouraging of each other's truths so that they can release it or so that we can hear it. And we only want to work with people, not that like I'm their boss and they're my employees, but we're each co-leaders. And we can't do this if one of us is not feeling their leading guidance inside of them. And when we all go into our body, we realize we all want the same thing. We've really never had an argument. Like, we haven't had any disagreements because when we're all each equally in our heart, we all want the same thing. But if we were all in a different ego, we all wanted to make a certain amount of money a certain way, or we wanted to get this type of thing selling more than this thing, we'd all have 4 different egos trying to do things differently. But as we're in our heart, we discover we all move from what is a win-win-win with every single thing. How about when your relationship is good, but this is causing distance? Gwen, could you elaborate on that question? I want to make sure I answer it. How about when your relationship good, but this is causing distance? I want to, first of all, know if you mean physical distance or if you mean a distance with yourself or the person. Wanting to leap. Oh, okay. Meaning, does the person support you in your leap? Gwen? I knew I'd learned a lot about myself here, but flipping hell, this is something else. Thank you, Jonathan. Same here. It affects them. Okay. How does it affect them? And by the way, are you sure it affects them in the way that you think it does? Financially. Okay. So maybe your leap will actually help you actually make money and help them financially too. I mean, I'm not actually able to hear the entire story right here, but you're not thinking also on what'll happen when you give your gift fully, how much it actually might stop them from having that codependent thing with you. I'm going to nursing school. Cool. So eventually you would be in your gift and able to go ahead and write more here. We could try to pull you up, Gwen. Okay. Gwen, would you like to talk on streaming with me? I don't know that it'll work. We've had a couple issues apparently with the thing, but if I'm able to bring you up on screen, and I promise I'll go to questions under this, but if I'm able to bring you up on screen, you want to come on? Because I'd love to hear the actual situation, and because there's a core belief under it I know that's going on that I would love to ask you about. So Dan, you want to attempt it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dan is going to call you. You're calling her right now? Okay. So we're going to see if we can bring you on. And sometimes it's just hard online. I don't know if it's the Wi-Fi at their house or whatever, but we'll see what we can do. Notice, by the way, while we're doing it, how much more everybody on here you feel in your heart than when we started. When you started, you're thinking, how long is this going to be? What are we going to talk about? I don't even know what we're doing. But now do you feel more in your body? If you do, that's because I was speaking from my body and you were listening from your body. And we're completely connecting in the same place. If I had a bunch of memorized facts for you, we'd all be in our head. But because I'm saying it from here, you'll find yourself feeling from right here. Awesome. I'm so honored to have you guys. It feels so good just to hear that it's connecting with you, and just even there's still a part of me that still cares, hopefully, that you're feeling that thing and that we're connected there. So it means so much to me to see that. Anything working, Dan? Nothing happening?
It's waiting for them.
Oh, it says it's waiting for you, Gwen. Is it not? Maybe right here if it's not working. So it's okay if it's not too. It's what?
It's not instantly working, at least, but it seems like she accepted it.
Okay. It says you accepted it, Gwen, but it says it's not working. So it might be on your end. It might be us. I don't know. But so thank you, you guys. This is really, that feels good, because as I'm giving this too, remember, you have to let yourself receive too. You have to let yourself receive love and compliments and really good connection, because you can only get love and have the success at the level you're willing to receive it. For instance, if someone came up to you and just handed you $1,000, you might go, what's the catch inside? Because you're not used to this. So you might miss out on the opportunity to receive that someone was just maybe being amazing and wanted to give you something. So there's a part of us that needs to receive. So I'm sitting here receiving all of these amazing words from you and giving my voice a break for 1 second and blurring. That wasn't the camera, just so you know, I just blurred. Mitch Hedberg was a comic I used to work with, and he said, maybe Bigfoot himself was blurry. That's the problem. Okay, so I'm going to answer a couple questions under here because people have been patiently waiting that asked over here, and I'm just going to answer a couple of these. And you might not even have this question now, Angela, because we've done so much here. In fact, what I'd love to do is check in with Angela. Is Angela still here? I'm going to look at this first question that has 5 votes. Awesome. So I'm going to read, Angela, I'm going to read you your question. I want to know if in the last 80 minutes, if something came up that answered it. Okay. It says, I'm frustrated that I hold myself back. I know that I have so much more that I can be putting into my business, but I feel stuck. And what if I put all this effort, time, and money, and it will fail like other things you have done? It's hard for me to follow that up with, and I love that. Thank you. So, Angela, with what we had said so far, are you actually able to feel in your body and answer that question? And here's a tip that'll help you. What would you say to someone else that asked that now? It is a great question, Angela. So what would you say? Because before I answer this, I want you to see that you have it. So Angela, would you just type in this little box some answers that might show up with you? And if you don't have anything, say that and I'll still answer it. But I'm actually curious, first of all, if you can see that you have the answer to that question. And it might just be a next step. Yes, you said that we cannot get freedom from doing something, not failure. We can get freedom from doing something, not failure. Yeah, what else? So there's a million things there. So that's a great point too. We can get freedom from doing something. You'll find your freedom the second you step into it. What's another thing? I'm frustrated that if I hold myself back, I'm frustrated that I hold myself back. I know that I have so much more that I can be putting into my business, but I feel stuck in, what if I put in all this effort, time, and money, and I fail like other things you have done? It's hard for me to follow that up with, and I love that. Thank you. Awesome. So I want you guys, I'm thinking about what the other people are thinking. It doesn't matter. Awesome. So that actually might be a key reason you've been having a problem, is you're thinking what other people are thinking. You're not even thinking what other people are thinking. You're thinking what you think they're thinking. You're projecting what they're thinking based on what past people were thinking. So it might not even be true that you're thinking about what they're thinking. But what we do want to do is notice that if you're thinking about what they're thinking, that's in your head. That's true. It's not your business what people think, because remember, what they think includes so Angela, that's right. It's not your business what they're thinking, because whatever they think of you includes their life. It includes their childhood. If one person, what I do, there's people that can't stand what I do, right? Because they might be in the shell, or it might be death to their story, or they might think who they are is, Lori said, can we have a bathroom break? Just go pee. We all pee and wait for Lori. Yeah, just go. I don't think I would have known. But thank you for asking that. At the event, yeah, if you're going pee, just write it. So what you really realize, you're thinking what they're thinking. You're not, right? If you're peeing right now, that's really interesting. If you're thinking about what they're thinking, you're actually putting in your own head those thoughts and judging yourself under the guise that you're thinking what they're thinking, right? So believe it or not, you're thinking those thoughts and just beating yourself up. You're thinking what your mom might say, for instance, or your dad, and then you're judging yourself through the idea of what you think they're thinking. Your permission to judge yourself and stay small is that you're thinking they're thinking that. So that's a great way for you to actually still give yourself permission to not do it, because what you're looking for is something that you don't have control over, so that you can find an excuse out. Because what really will kill you in a good way, what'll kill your ego, is the fact that you have total control over everything. So for instance, with meditation, I love to sit an hour to 2 hours a day, every single day. And I realized a big lie is, I don't know if I can do that. That's a lot different than, of course I can do it. It's just, will I? Can I do it? Totally gives me permission to find a way out. I don't know that I can do it, so I might as well stop. But if I say, will I do it? It's not hard. It's just painful sometimes. It's not hard to sit for an hour ever. It's never hard. But we're looking for any way we can to get out of it. And the way out is to find something that you believe is beyond your control. So to say, I'm thinking what they're thinking, is a great way for you to give yourself permission to stay in your limitation, because it's not what they're thinking, it's what you're thinking. But your trick on yourself is you think that's what they're thinking. It's what you're thinking. So notice how much you're beating yourself up and say, what am I actually thinking about myself? What do I feel about myself? I've had this for a long time. I even caught this belief I had last night. I've vocalized this belief before, but I had my entire life a massive fear of being accused of something that I didn't do. That owns me so much that I don't care when people accuse me of something that I did do. But if it's something that I didn't do, then I'm in a position where I can't control that. So in other words, if it's something that I did do, that's just me doing that like for instance, sometimes people go, oh, Kyle just became a motivational speaker now, or a transformational speaker. Totally, I did. That's totally true. But we've had times where we've shifted people on stage so magically that people in the audience insisted that we planted those people there, which would be impossible for us to act that out for a half an hour and have the person crying and everything. Like, we've had people, they'll write it on YouTube, like, oh, he totally set that up. If that's the case, we're the best actors on the planet. But I found myself really wanting to go in there and disprove them. And that was really scary, because I found myself in a position where I was owned. And then I did the work and found why I have that. One of the key reasons I have that is I used to do that. I used to accuse my brother of doing things he totally didn't do. So when I was a kid and I was fighting my brother, I bit my arm. And I told my mom that Kevin did it. But I bit my dental records into my arm. She goes, well, that's weird, because Kevin doesn't have braces and you do. So I got caught biting my arm and saying Kevin did it. And I felt so dumb. And then I got really scared of the idea of people thinking I did something that I didn't do. which is why I got worried when my phone blocked last week. And I was like, oh my God, it looks like I'm doing something that I'm actually not doing, but I'm actually not doing it. So I find myself sometimes in that situation fixing something that's totally not broken. And I can think of that with many different things in my life, right? So if people say sometimes like, oh, Kyle does this and he makes money doing this, that's totally true. I don't have a problem with doing what I love doing and making money. I also did that with stand-up. But I take the money and I put it into my creativity. But when people say he's doing it for the money, that triggers me because that's actually not true. That actually hurts. And I actually do this because you can feel from this that I'm doing it because I'm alive. But my way to feel constantly owned, it doesn't matter. I don't care what people think about me as much as I care that I'm being accused of something that I didn't do. And the reason is because I did it to my brother. I did it to my brother when I was a kid. And I did it. I remember one time, this is true too. My brother and I, we fought a lot when we were kids. And I remember being in the kitchen and out of nowhere going, ow. And mom goes, what? And I go, Kevin kicked me. He totally didn't. And then my dad went, I stood, and Kevin said, no, I didn't. And my dad said, I stood here and watched him do it. He didn't do it. And I felt so like, what the hell, Dad? Like, I just felt so weird and everything was just a weird moment. And I don't think my dad was trying to be vindictive or something, but I do think that my dad just subconsciously thought he saw it from the side or something and like backed me. And it was like such a weird moment for me. But if you have a problem with something that someone can do something to you, that's because you don't like that about yourself. And you got to find a new love for yourself and transform that. You have to transform that. So an example I use a lot is Tiger Woods. When he cheated on his wife, a lot of America went crazy. And that's because a lot of America has thought about cheating, they've cheated, or they've been cheated on. That's a common thing, right? And so they had panels where whenever a celebrity cheats, they're all judging them because they can judge themselves indirectly. They can hate themselves from a safe place or be mad at someone else. But when there's like hunger issues in other countries, we don't have panels on CNN discussing it because it's not quite as home. We're more passionately angry about people that are late or exaggerate or whatever because we have that. We're not as angry about murderers because it's more not in our box. So when I do my events, I say, name something that really triggers you about people. And people will go, I'm really triggered when people, are late or when they exaggerate or when they're, lying about something or when they're not humble. But no one says murderer because no one knows what it's like to murder. They're fine with a murderer as long as they're on time and not exaggerating about it. So Gwen O'Leary says on the next question, so I'm sorry we couldn't connect with you, Gwen. You said something about maybe your partner wanted to not hop on or something, but it said, I'm wondering how to be totally on board with dealing with stress of family who are having issues. Cool. I have an okay union job pension, but this is what I've always wanted to do. Already in the field, but this is what feels great in my heart. Awesome. So I'm wondering how to be totally on board with dealing with the stress of family who are having issues. So the first thing is first of all, look at what you can control and what you can't. I want everybody to think of everything before you got here today that you've been trying to control, but you can't. For instance, you can't control what's going on politically, right? You might be able to write your congressman and go march, but you can't change right now who's in office or who the Congress is or what law they're passing, right? You can't control what a football team did. You can't control your past. You can't control certain things. You can't control what other people think about you. So everybody really quick, I want you to think about something that you can't control, but you've been trying to control, because one of the key reasons we stress in our lives is we try to control what we can't control, but we don't control what we can. So I want you guys to really quick write down something that you've been trying to control that you can't. How happy my mom is. Beautiful. Yes. My husband doing the dishes. That's awesome. My future. You can't control your future. That actually is true. People go, you can control your future. No, even more than that. You can control your judgment of right now. You can't control people buying your product, but you can control if you love the product. You can control if you make it. I can't control my compulsions, true, but you can love the compulsions so they can leave, right? You see the difference? If you're trying to change something that's coming up or a thought that's coming up, you're trying to control that. I can't control the way my daughter chooses to live her life, right? But you can control what? So Joanne, what can you control in that? I can't control the way my daughter chooses to live her life, but I can control if I accept it or not. My reaction, beautiful. What they think about me, if they love me or not. My daughter's choices, what if they love me or not. I totally can't control if you guys love me or not. And I love that. I don't want to have to deal with controlling all that. How exhausting would it be if you could control that? If I could like manage this thing of all 59 of you on here and just like, okay, now you like me, now you like me. That would be crazy. I can't control what others think about me. I can control my reaction. My brother who is dating a taker, which by the way is because your brother needs to learn that he's an overgiver or he's a people pleaser. So Brian, who said my brother's dating a taker, that's the exact polarity for what your brother needs to be, of what your brother's being. So the universe is actually giving your brother the match to what he's putting out so he can grow and learn a lesson. So it's perfect that he's dating a taker because he's being a people pleaser or an overgiver or an apologist for himself, right? So so it's actually, you'll realize the things that you can't control that are happening are actually maybe perfect. Maybe that's happening for the waking up of the world. Maybe it's a win-win-win for these things that seem like they're going wrong because it's getting people to wake up. It's getting people to go to a place. So it's actually perfectly fair. I can't control how long it takes for the professionals to do their job to support my son. Right. You can't. You can't control that, but you can control what professionals you connect your son with. You can control if you're okay with that. You can control, maybe they're supposed to take their time, so your son's supposed to learn something that you can't see. Maybe your son's supposed to learn it on their own. I don't know the story there, but there's a lot of things that might be you can't control for a reason. Melissa said, LOL. Gwen O'Leary says, control my reaction. That's where I need to work. Right. So do you control the stress of your family? How exhausting would it be if you could control the stress of your family? You'd be always working. You'd be always exhausted. How great you can't control these things. Everything you can't control, be excited that you're letting go of it now, right? You don't have to. It's not your job. Maybe they need to go through the stress for their own reason, for their own growth that you can't see. Maybe they're supposed to stress. Remember this is a huge thing. Do not take away people's ability to hit their own low. Because remember, a reason you're here is because of the lows that you've hit that caused you to get the crack in your shell, right? So if you have a crack in your shell, he has autism and is struggling to do what school wants him to do. He's scared to make mistakes. I totally understand that. And you can't control that he has autism. I want you to know my heart totally goes out to you. But maybe he's in a position where he doesn't need to be controlled or have those professionals, but just needs love right now. I don't know. I'm not in that situation. I wish I could make eye contact with you, Jonathan, and hear about it. But just give you that love and support and let you know that I have total love for you in that situation and have no idea what that would be like. I can't seem to control my need to procrastinate. Oh, that went up. Hold on. I can't control my need to procrastinate on launching the next phase of my business. I can't seem to control. No, but you can accept that you have a need to procrastinate. And by accepting it, I don't mean you keep it going. I mean, it'll leave because you love it. See what happens if you go, yeah, I procrastinate all the time. And I love that. I'm a part of Procrastinators Anonymous. We just had our Christmas party last week. So I can't control my need to procrastinate on launching the next phase of my business, but you can accept that you have that. What happens if you do that? Because you have been judging and trying to control that you have a need to procrastinate. So what if you don't have to control that? You can just love it. And for you, you might want to take your time to getting there. You might want to procrastinate on loving your procrastination. So it's because I try to control the stress of my family. I'm exhausted. I'm stepping back, letting them fall because you think your family are your plates. Let the plates fall over for a minute. We believe that the plates, when they fall over, aren't able to get up. We believe that they aren't able to rebuild themselves, right? It's really, in a way, and I don't mean this with judgment, and it's very narcissistic of us to think that we're the ones responsible for everything. I got to stop this thing from falling over. I got to help this person. I got to do this thing. I'm the only one who knows how to stop this person from once they fall over. Maybe them falling over is their cocoon. Maybe them falling over is their opportunity to hit their own low, right? So what do we got down here? I can't control that I broke my leg and I couldn't go to your event at Rhythmia, even though I bought all the tickets. Right. Yes. But you can take a look that you were able to connect with us here and ask yourself, what are all the things you're going to do now that you wouldn't have done had you not broken your leg? In other words, this conversation wouldn't have happened. So what can I encourage you to come up with for yourself that you could go, like I remember once when I was in Vegas and I lost $1,000 gambling. And then I went back to my room and said, I'm going to make a list of all the things that I want to do now that I wouldn't have made had I not lost that $1,000. And I got really excited and was like, because I lost $1,000, I did all this stuff. And it totally paid for itself multiple times over. So think, what could I do now because of that I wouldn't have told you had you not broken your leg? Wow, life moment, let them have a low. Yeah, let them have their low. We aren't here to keep plates spinning. I wrote it and I love, my heart feels all burny and tingly. That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Boy, I've been in that headspace. Oh yeah, I do feel that a lot, especially with my mom in the moment. I feel I owe her. Wow. Now, unless you specifically like owe her a check or something, I understand that. But if you just feel this constant, I owe her, that actually is you saying, I'm not worthy. That's you saying, I got to fix. I'm not enough. And remember, don't take away other people's opportunity to give to you. So if you feel you owe her because she gave to you, that was fulfilling for her. If you hear me do this event right now and you feel you owe me something, then you're not understanding that I got fulfilled and learned all kinds of stuff about myself in the last couple hours because I'm giving. So as you access your butterfly, you don't want to get as much as you want to give. You want to give your gift on multiple dimensions over and over and over again. So it's really awesome. So nice way of losing in gambling. I just did my first step for an item I wrote down on my left page. Lori, did you pee? I did. Awesome. Okay, cool. You feel lighter. How do you feel? Great. Awesome. I have to pee too, but I'm gonna wait it out and give to you guys. I'm sure you can imagine that I have to pee, because if you were writing down and didn't see what's been going on, I've had a lot to drink, right? We have these. We've had fresh squeezed orange juice, right? We had the little, and we had the kombucha, which was really good, and a green juice, which was great, a coconut that I'm having a hard time getting into, a coffee, a water, another coffee, all of the drinks together, tea, a kombucha coffee combo that's really good. I think that's it. Oh, I had my glass of pens. And you can imagine I also have to pee. But luckily for you guys, I've been doing it the whole time. I have a catheter on. I don't really, but if I did, I would. So that's something to think about. So now here's something funny. Think about this. This is really real. I started doing this with you guys today, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And because I had no idea, I got to tap into fun creativity that was waiting for me to just play. And because I just played and didn't know every single thing that I was going to do, I was able to play and do fun little games and do things and play. And that's a gift that I have in me because I'm connected to myself. And that's a gift that makes the events that we do so much more fun. So it's actually a gift that's worth money. So when people are like, I'm scared that I'll lose money, you don't know how much money you're losing by not tapping into your gift, because you have all of your gifts that aren't just comedy or music or whatever. There's billions of things. There's all the knowledge you have. However old you are is how much experience you have. Everything you've done is experience. Even if you go, I just sat on the couch my whole life, you have experience. It doesn't matter. You've just been disqualifying it because it hasn't been the same as what other people have done. But you don't want to do what other people have done. You want to do what's unique and original to you. So get excited about all of the things that you have in you that you haven't been thinking of. So Kyle, do you have any suggestion how to really overcome self-criticism, which is putting me always in a place of unworthiness? Yes, and I bet you know what it is, Stephanie. I see things from so many angles, but it's killing my creativity. I see things from a lot of angles too. So Stephanie, would you be willing to answer that question? The reason I say that is because the biggest thing I want you to take away is you have these answers. I can totally answer that, but I know what the first thing to do is. How do you overcome self-criticism? So I criticize myself. One is I have to do things, but how about love that you criticize yourself? Because your judgment is like a passing cloud, but if you think that that passing cloud is who you are and you grab it, but it's a passing cloud. So what if you just love the self-criticism so it can leave? I accept that I've criticized myself before. I'm totally cool. And then you go, well, that's not working. I accept that. I accept that it's not working. I accept that I don't know what I'm doing. I accept that I'm lost. Let yourself get totally lost and this creativity come up. Now, this is the only way I believe that we can change the world. Einstein said the only way to change the world, you can't change the world from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. So one thing I read a lot on Facebook is people go, we got to resist this person, or we got to resist Trump, or we got to resist this. Now that's awesome. It's awesome to stand up for what you believe. That's definitely a step up from running from it. But instead of resisting it, what would happen if you actually just loved yourself? Because everything you're resisting in someone else is what you don't like about yourself. So one thing that's great about politicians is they're a great mirror for what we hate about ourselves. I see people say about Donald Trump, everyone's complaint about Donald Trump coincidentally is something I've seen that they have in themselves. So for instance, I know a girl that was, this is kind of funny, but she was like, oh, and then I went to work and Amber was like this and this happened and da-da-da-da-da. And when she talked about Donald Trump, she goes, I hate how whiny he is. I've never thought of whiny. But there's things that I don't like when he exaggerates, or when, or when he says he knows something when he doesn't. Like there's things that I'm trying to think what trigger me with him. And actually there's not a ton, because what I actually believe is everyone's getting off the couch, whether you like him or not. People on his side are starting to feel heard for the first time, and people that are in resistance to him are finally realizing that their circumstances aren't the thing that run them, because their circumstances too out of their hand. So what you don't like in someone is often what you don't like about yourself. Awesome. I think I'm going to be in Seattle, Gwen, at the Moore Theater. You should come see me at the Moore Theater May 19th. It's not far from Vancouver. I used to date a woman in Vancouver who lived in North Vancouver, and it was awesome. So I went to Vancouver constantly. Vancouver's kind of like if Seattle washed itself. I went to Seattle, and you go north and it's like someone polished all the buildings. Thank you for making the Evolve program. I'm so glad I'm from Indonesia and can learn from you. What an honor. How crazy. It's so funny how much technology we have. I'm honored to have you. And we have technology now that makes it so easy for us to just connect everywhere. But we also have the lowest belief that we can do it. I mean, Gandhi did all the stuff he did, and Martin Luther King and those people did all the stuff they did without the internet. They were able to create marches without writing anyone online. Now you have the ability to talk to someone in China instantly. You have the ability to talk to someone in any country. You have the ability to do this so much more easily now. And Bob Proctor phrases it this way: the planet has become so much smaller because you now can just get to anyone, anywhere, and connect with anyone at the same time. Where are you guys, really quick, right where you're from? I want to just kind of connect. So we got Belgium and Spain and Pittsburgh, Haiti, UK, Seattle, New Jersey, Iowa, Slovenia, Norway, Canada. What an honor. We're all connecting right now from everywhere. And we're all connecting at the same place right here. We're not saying who I am is this, but you're this country. We're saying who I am is this. Are you with me? Awesome. So one thing I believe heavily, Chicago, Hungary, Fort Lauderdale, Colorado, SC, Texas, Toronto, Houston, Virginia, Scotland, Germany, Ohio, Chicago, a nurse. So cool. Wow. So we're talking from everywhere. Spain, like Redondo Beach, Dawson's Creek. So you're on a TV show talking to me. I'm so blown away. Greece? Really? Is anyone? That's crazy. That's amazing. I'm honored to be with you, and I'm really am. And what we're doing is so good, and it's so well lived, and I'm honored, and I can't wait to see you in Seattle too. And I really want to ask you, please pick up my book. Please pre-order my book. I hope I screw this up. If you can, order as many as you can for other people, because I promise you, it will shift them. It is so exciting because it really was me shifting while I wrote it. I co-wrote it with my buddy Dan, who's here, and he helped me structure it, and it's just awesome. I don't know if there's a Kindle version, actually. I think there is. Oh, yeah, there is. There is. But I know that the one that we have is a hardcover too, and if you want just something awesome and then see me at an event, I'll happily sign it for you. But it's just our heart on paper, and it's so funny and it's so weird. We have not made an audio. I don't know what's going on with that, but I just am so excited about it, and I'm just asking you, please support it, because it's a win-win-win for all of us, and everyone you grab it for, they'll love it. It's so cool. And I promise you, with what we get from it, it'll help us show other people that it's number one and help them buy it. But also we'll take what money comes in from it and recirculate it into more people growing and raising the awareness. So I promise you, it's a win-win-win all the way. I know the cover is awesome, isn't it? And I just found out from Tony Robbins that he's totally honored to give us a quote. And I was like, wow, we have Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Michael Beckwith wrote the foreword. And he also, in the book, there's a foreword and there's also the backward. So at the end of the book, you can read the foreword Michael Beckwith wrote and flip it. It's mirror image. So you can read the backward. It's the only book that has a forward and a backward. Someone asked for the link. The link is kylecease.com/book. I think Carrie is about to write it in. So one thing that I really believe is that everything that Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela did, we all have that available in us. And I always think to myself, if 10% of the people watching what we do stepped up and gave their gift now and did the stuff on their left page, they would access their Martin Luther Kingness. And I always think to myself, what would happen if 10% of the people that watch the show decided to step into that? Well, there's 61 people on right now. So if 6 of them stepped in, could you imagine if just 6 Martin Luther Kings or Mother Teresas showed up at the same time? Can you imagine what would happen? I get so passionate about that. So my question for you guys is, so you feel the support of other people, are you going to not just hear this as mental fodder, but actually step into your gift and make this 2 hours so much more worth it by stepping into it? So if that's a yes for you and you're going to make some action that actually steps you in, write yes on this. Look at this. So you're all stepping in and saying you're in. That's huge. And if you do, we can shift the planet because we're going to be at a higher level of consciousness. And the people that are controlling other people will not feel the need to do that. They won't feel the need to do that because you're showing them that there's a higher form of happiness that's available in you. There's a higher form of happiness that's available in you that you can feel just by living in the moment, by letting go of your old stories, by realizing those people that are controlling things are trying to control things they can't and not controlling what they can. They're trying to control and feel constantly that they're here to change all this stuff because they think it's their job to do it versus access their heart and do it. So as you step into your amazingness, you give them permission to do it. And your reason why you think you can't, remember, is your reason that you have to. Your reason why you think you can't, because other people are in a 9-to-5 job, is your reason you have to. Your reason that you think you can't, you might go, well, I can't because I have social anxiety. You might have social anxiety because you're not stepping into your gift. You go, well, I can't do it because I have kids. My family's not happy. Your family's not happy, maybe also because you're not giving your gift. Yeah, but for you, it's easy because I'm over here. It's not as easy. It's because you're not stepping into it. So I'm asking you, step into it. Step into it. Did we record this, you guys?
Yeah.
Awesome. I loved this one. I was in love with this group. I was in love with connecting with you. I was in love with how I felt with myself. I always measure how good it is based on how high my hair gets. And you can see that this was really a good episode. My hair's reached its maximum size. My for sure hair. My olive branch hair. So one thing I want to encourage you guys to do after you guys leave here is when you get off of this, sit for a while with your eyes closed. Don't go online. Don't go make phone calls right away. Connect to your body. Actually sit. Give yourself some time to move from this content that I gave you. Really excites your mind and your body. But when you actually, and that's the same as going to a gym and having them explain to you how a treadmill works. But there's a whole difference between understanding how a treadmill works and getting on the treadmill. So I really want to encourage you guys to access in you your treadmill stuff now. I want you to actually do the work. And when you get off this, maybe spend some time letting all those thoughts come up going, I'm not enough. I feel guilty when I think of my mom. I have social anxiety, and just let them come up and accept them and let them sit there and be these things that are in front of you versus these things that you think you are, and let them show up like little stars and you realize you're outer space. And these things that are showing up aren't your identity. They're just here, and let them be there. So thank you so much, Kyle. I started watching your videos in December and they've saved my life. I was suffering grief and suicidal anxiety. Wow. Thank you for following that crack inside of you, that opening. That's really beautiful. And I'm so honored that you were here. And I'm so honored that you stepped in, realized that, a lot of times when we feel suicidal and anxiety, that's because we're so brilliant and our mind needs something more than just 9-to-5 boringness. You're innovative and creative beings. And when you don't create, your mind will creatively sabotage you. So our job is to be a space and actually use this amazingness that we have. And know that I'm very, very, very thankful that I get to do this and that you guys showed up and give me purpose and give me reason to do this and give me permission to do this, and realize that you're that same permission for everybody around you and the entire world. You have to give your gift to give that permission to other people, because they don't need permission, but they don't know that yet. And you giving your gift makes it more and more normal to do this, makes it more and more normal to be butterflies on this planet, more and more common and normal, so that people won't feel alone if they become the butterfly too. Maureen says, can we join in on tomorrow's webinar too? How does that work, Carrie? Would you write info@kylecease.com and ask that if you're interested in that? I don't know how that works because Dan and Carrie and Kara kind of set that stuff up, so they can answer that. But I'd love to be working with you guys as much as possible, but I really ask you to step into your unique way too, and actually do it, and know you have this permission. You're infinite. And I'm so thankful you're on this planet co-creating with me, because it's very easy to change the planet when you actually step into it. It's very hard to stay the same, but it's very familiar. So we're more addicted to it. It's like driving with the brakes on your entire life. It's scary to take the brake off, but it's actually freer at the same time. So honored to be with you, and I'm going to go pee for a month. So love you guys, and I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa and Jonathan and Maureen and Mel and Lori and Tanya and Tara and Carrie and Bethany. Thank you so much, Angela, Laurel, Eva, Cesario, Danny. Say something nice. Oh, that's not your name. Marge, Jonathan Stewart, George, Donna, Andy, Michelle. Honored to be with you guys. I'm going to go pee. Have a great day, you guys. Thanks so much for being with me.